Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. It's John Tower for Defense Secretary. President-elect Bush finally went ahead today and nominated the former senator from Texas after weeks of delay and indecision. Much of the holdup apparently resulted from factional feuding high inside the Bush transition team, including leaks and accusations by Tower's opponents about his professional and private life. CBS News National Affairs correspondent Leslie Stahl begins our coverage of John Tower for Defense and the Pentagon management and money mess he's up against.
George Bush had to brush aside the opposition of many in his own transition team to give the appointment to his old friend from Texas.
John Tower is as knowledgeable as anyone in America about defense and national security issues.
Even on his day of triumph, Tower had to face embarrassing questions.
Did you elicit any promises from Senator Tower about his personal conduct before you named him?
I've just expressed full confidence in that, and that's been covered.
Especially about alcoholism? Did you?
I've covered that subject.
There were a number of rumors and innuendos, allegations, and it was incumbent on the Vice President to order the FBI to check out each one of these very carefully, regardless of how off the wall they might have been.
Sharp-tongued, prickly, John Tower's last public job was as head of the Presidential Commission that investigated the Iran-Contra scandal. But for 19 years, Tower sat on the Senate Armed Services Committee at a time when defense spending soared from $48 billion to $220 billion a year. He was a champion of the Reagan buildup.
No on-the-job training. He can advise the president beginning tomorrow.
Tower got the job he's wanted for years and the deal he asked for. Mr. Bush agreed to name him alone and to give him a large say in who the Pentagon's number 2 man will be. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, Washington.
John Tower will inherit some of the world's most sophisticated weapons, but he will not inherit enough money to pay for them, and he knows it.
The bottom line is that we must provide at least as much, if not more, defense for less money.
But just today, the Pentagon acknowledged that the stealth bomber will cost 16% more than the original estimate, and members of Congress are likely to balk at this claim by the Secretary of the Air Force.
Whatever it costs, it's worth it.
The Pentagon had planned for a defense budget that would increase at the rate of 2% per year after inflation. But no one expects Congress to approve anything more than 0% real growth. In other words, a budget that manages to keep pace with inflation and nothing more.
If you go from 2% real growth to 0 real growth, you've got a problem. And over a 5-year period, that problem is about $116 billion.
To cut $116 billion over 5 years, production of expensive new weapons like the stealth bomber or this vertical takeoff and landing plane will have to be canceled or delayed. Some weapons already in service, this World War II vintage aircraft carrier, for instance, will have to be retired earlier than planned.
Clearly, for the short term, I don't see any other solutions. That we're going to see some reductions in forces and the size of the forces.
But can the Pentagon do that and still meet its commitments? Keep the oil lanes in the Persian Gulf open. Keep 330,000 servicemen in Europe and another 40,000 in Korea. The present Secretary of Defense says no.
I think our force structure is about as low as you can sensibly get it and still execute our military strategy around the world.
If Mikhail Gorbachev's pledge to withdraw 5,000 tanks and 50,000 men from Eastern Europe really does signal a change in Soviet strategy, the new Secretary of Defense may indeed preside over fundamental changes in U.S. strategy.
John Tower will have to do much more than simply cut and trim the budget to make it fit the amount of money available.
We have to make some basic structural changes. We have to commit to doing things differently than we have done them before. And you can't change that instantly.
It'll take many years of trench warfare at all levels of the bureaucracy. It means you need a very strong secretary who knows the department and has the guts, to take on what'll be royal battles.
George Bush liked to say the campaign was about ideology, but when John Tower sits down at the defense secretary seat, ideology will not count as much as the arithmetic of the budget. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
This evening I spoke with Defense Secretary John Tower about his new job and about some of the criticisms brought up by those opposed to his appointment. You've had, and you made no secret about it, you received annual retainers from Martin Marietta, Rockwell, and LTV Aerospace.
Others.
And others.
Yes.
When they and the others you worked for, in one capacity or another, are involved in the process, do you intend to remove yourself from the process? How will that work?
I think you have to make a judgment call on that, and I would resolve any doubt on that in favor of recusing myself, so that there'd be not even an appearance of conflict. And I think that, of course, that is a problem that you're going to have in the Defense Department from time to time, because I think a lot of the key functionaries in the Defense Department will be people out of industry that have worked for defense industries. So that's something that you have to face up to.
Senator, you base your entire elective career on a belief that the American people believe in a strong defense. Have they been getting value for dollar?
The American people have been getting some very, very good weapon systems. I think some systems have cost too much money. I think we have some systems that we don't need. So overall, I'd say they've gotten some good return on their money, some that they haven't.
Mikhail Gorbachev says he'll cut 500,000 ground troops and a lot of tanks and some air power unilaterally over the next few years. You're impressed?
Well, not particularly, because that means that he comes down to a force that's only about 2.5 times the size of ours. It's still much too much of a critical edge in terms of numbers. And I think it's, if he means it, and if he really proceeds to do it, I think it's an appropriate step in the right direction. But I think we have to go much further in terms of constraints on conventional force, because there, of course, is where the Soviets enjoy an enormous superiority over the United States and our allies.
Senator Tower, of course, still must be confirmed by the Senate. Still to come on the Friday night CBS Evening News, David Dow on the growing problem of what to do with nuclear waste. And Jerry Bowen on a romance that ended in gunshots and what could be called the tennis defense.
If they could see me now out on a fun ship cruise, eating fancy food and doing what I choose, I'd like my friends back home to get a good look at the first-rate carnival cruise that I took. All I can say is, wow, hey, look at where I am. What a fun ship, holy cow. They'd never believe it if my friends could.
So on your next vacation, take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
If you thought you had to give up comfort to get a close shave, Norelco says, think again. Their revolutionary shaving system shaves skin close in a way that's incredibly comfortable. As the hair enters the chamber, the patented lift and cut system lifts each hair and holds it a split second before a blade cuts it, so it's possible to shave skin close without the blades even touching the skin. The lift and cut shaving system from Norelco. We made close comfortable.
Great news. I don't need surgery for my hemorrhoids. The doctor said they're not that serious. He said use Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of tissues as it often relieves pain and itching for hours.
Aren't you glad you didn't need surgery?
Preparation H.
After you've produced the yearly report in record time and made color part of your winning proposal, you'll know why Canon is the most popular copier in America. From personal to color laser copying, the choice is Canon.
The United States and the Palestine Liberation Organization began their new era of dialogue today. CBS News correspondent Doug Donnell covered the talks in Tunisia.
In a heavily guarded government villa by the sea outside Tunis, the handshakes were not just routine diplomatic gestures. They marked the first official direct contact between an American diplomat and leaders of the PLO in at least 13 years, and the beginning of a new American policy in the Middle East. Their 2-hour meeting was filled with symbolism more than substance. The American flag alongside the banner of the PLO. The 4 PLO delegates who represent a careful balance of the group's many factions. And the sole American authorized to deal with them, Ambassador Robert Pelletreau, who was kidnapped by a radical PLO faction in Jordan in 1970 and managed to escape.
It is our hope that this dialogue, as it develops, will help bring about direct negotiations that will lead to a comprehensive peace.
Terrorism reportedly topped the American agenda, but the PLO clearly has other priorities that include bringing more American pressure to bear on the Israelis.
We hope that the appliance of this change in the policy of the United States will be practiced through a real pressure upon Israel.
The PLO said a second meeting is expected in the coming weeks. But the follow-up meeting has not been scheduled yet. Western diplomatic sources here say they do not expect these talks to proceed quickly. In fact, they say they may not even take up serious substantive matters until well after Inauguration Day. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Tunis.
Israeli soldiers killed 4 Palestinians, wounded more than 20 today in one of the bloodiest clashes of the year-old Arab uprising. The Israelis opened fire in the West Bank city of Nablus when Arab youths rioted after the funeral of a protester who was shot last week. The uprising passed its anniversary this week with no end in sight. Bob Simon reports that while most of the casualties have been Arabs, the year has taken a heavy toll on Israelis too.
Yaakov Parag, a 30-year-old Israeli settler, was buried on the West Bank this week. An Arab shepherd killed him the same way Cain slew Abel, by crushing his head with a stone. The Arab was killed in a shootout with the army, which also left 1 soldier dead. He was buried today, the 13th Israeli to die since the uprising began. No matter what Yasser Arafat says, Israelis do not believe he will be the last. Israeli numbers do not compare to the Palestinian casualty count, at least 7,000 injured, 335 dead, including those killed today during a funeral service in Nablus. But that's little consolation to 25-year-old Shimon Navon, who was in his Jeep on the West Bank last June when the Molotov cocktail hit.
Because the Palestinians are weaker, they are portrayed as being more damaged. But as you can see, we are also being scarred.
Some scars are less obvious. When Israeli soldiers were given life prison sentences after going on the rampage in a refugee camp, the mother of one of the boys told an Israeli newspaper army service was destroying her son.
Damage of the soul, yes. And I don't think it's repairable. I mean, it will leave a scar, I think, for life.
It's a very strange army. Everyone does reserve duty. Scientists, surgeons, singers like Avi Avital, who did 60 days this year, most of it in Nablus.
I see little children in my daughter age. It's have to change something inside.
But Avi thinks he's got to be there. His wife disagrees.
Well, I don't think Avi has to be there, and I don't think we have to be there, the Israelis. So I find it absolutely a waste of time.
But for the 75,000 Israeli settlers, people who feel so threatened they've set up vigilante patrols, the army not only has to be in the territories, it has to get a lot tougher fast.
There isn't an order to shoot every stone thrower, and it's a shame.
School days for settlers' children this semester involves armored escorts all the way. Walls are going up to shield them from Arab villages. New roads are being built around the villages, skirting the problem. But sometimes the problem comes to them. Rocks through windshields.
I travel now with a motorcycle helmet on. I'm not going to quit. Are you serious? I should quit now? That's ridiculous.
Settlers feel safer with the clarity of the barricades than with the ambiguities of negotiations. Many other Israelis do too. But that could change.
Israelis would go enormously far to create an ability to live with the Palestinians with dignity. The question is, they're frightened to do that because they don't want to be moral at the price of committing suicide.
Israelis are united in their desire to bring an end to scenes like this, but are wildly divided on which path will lead them out of the graveyard. Bob Simon, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The U.S. State Department today accused Soviet leader Gorbachev of breaking his promise not to conduct offensive military operations in Afghanistan. A spokesman said recent Soviet airstrikes against Muslim rebels show an intense pattern of offensive activity. Western experts believe the Soviets have gone on the attack because they fear the communist Afghan regime could fall even before the scheduled completion of the Soviet troop withdrawal in February. Muslim kidnappers in southern Lebanon have freed a Swiss hostage. 32-year-old Peter Winkler appeared unharmed when he was released tonight after a month in captivity. Winkler is a high official of the International Red Cross. Earlier today in southern Lebanon, kidnappers seized 3 Irish soldiers of the UN peacekeeping force.
Lucky for this diver, he has a thin, powerful seal. So thin it's virtually airtight. So powerful it even holds up to pressure. No, it's not on this diver's mask. The seal is on his dentures. Extra Hold Fast Teeth has a seal so thin yet so powerful, it's virtually airtight. For a hold that's closer to real than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth, the extra hold seal that's closer to real.
Can't get out of bed.
Ever notice how even the smallest cold turns everything into a big effort?
What a drag!
It's time to get the big relief of Dimetap in 12-hour extend tabs. Dimetap is recommended millions of times by doctors and pharmacists.
So you have a cold? I've got just the thing.
Dimetap. It gets things back to normal.
Tell them that you love them.
The Florentine basket bouquet from Teleflora. Fresh flowers. And something worth keeping. To send one anywhere, call your local florist.
Where can you find fleece activewear for intense workouts? 2-piece sets for guys, mix and match for gals, durable for those strenuous activities, in lots of styles for families on the go. All fleece wear, all sizes, 25% off now, only at Sears.
In Alexandria, Virginia, a federal court jury tonight convicted businessman and politician Lyndon LaRouche. The self-described sometime independent candidate for U.S. president was found guilty on 13 counts of tax and mail fraud conspiracy. LaRouche now faces up to 65 years in prison, $3 million in fines. More concern today at Savannah River, the only U.S. nuclear defense plant that makes a key ingredient for this nation's atomic warheads. Energy Department officials now say a newly detected reactor cooling system crack is not a major new safety problem. Savannah River is currently shut down for other safety and maintenance work. Even when U.S. nuclear defense plants are working properly, they are not problem-free. Correspondent David Dow reports on a high-level meeting out west today about the radioactive waste no one wants.
Top federal energy officials met with 3 Western governors today in an effort to put down a growing rebellion over America's mounting piles of nuclear garbage.
If you can't handle the waste, then you shouldn't create the waste.
The waste at issue has been stacking up at temporary storage sites since World War II. 120,000 barrels of it in eastern Idaho alone. Though mostly low-level waste, it could stay radioactive for centuries.
I think we're late. Maybe 10, 15 years late in some cases in dealing with how to get rid of the stuff.
By now, the waste was supposed to have a permanent home in southeast New Mexico, in caves carved through ancient salt beds a half-mile below the desert. But the planned October opening of the nearly billion-dollar dump was blocked by such concerns as water leakage and some bureaucratic hurdles. In frustration, Idaho's governor closed his state to further shipments and sent back a boxcar of waste to the Rocky Flats nuclear weapons plant near Denver, Colorado. With no place to go, the waste has filled up more boxcars at Rocky Flats. And as recently as yesterday, Colorado's governor was threatening to shut down the plant when storage limits are reached next spring.
We just cannot have that stuff continue to pile up in the Denver metropolitan area.
But late today, the rhetoric softened. The governors emerged proclaiming progress. After a secret briefing on the strategic importance of Rocky Flats, they vowed to keep it open, though in part it depends on finding somewhere else to put its trash.
I think there's a solution. Now, it can fall apart, but we approach it, I think, in a sense that we're going to make it work.
But there will be another delay in opening the permanent waste site from June of next year to August at the earliest. David Dow, CBS News, Salt Lake City.
Just in time for the cold months, the government today reported that wholesale prices for home heating oil shot up 12.2% last month. The report said food costs held steady and overall wholesale prices in November rose 0.3%. For the first 11 months of the year, wholesale price inflation measured 3.8%, leading one analyst to say inflationary fears exceed inflationary reality at the present time, unquote. Housing construction in November jumped 1.4% to its highest level in 7 months. That word today from the Commerce Department, which also said that building permits, a sign of future activity, rose 0.1% last month.
Hello, darling. My gift philosophy is nothing but the best. In slippers, nothing but wonderful deer foams. They come with ultra cushy foam that makes luxurious love to your feet. And those darlings at Deer Foams are giving away these adorable free teddy bears with every pair of comfort stretch. Remember, give nothing but the best. Deer Foams, darling.
Over the years, Wheaties has always been the breakfast of champions because we've always stood for the best with what we put inside the box and who we put outside. Today we welcome our newest champion. And we've never stood quite as tall.
Everyone knows Dristan nasal spray starts to work fast, but just how fast?
Faster than Dolly can pick up a $5 tip.
Faster than a politician can shake hands.
Now, Dristan nasal spray has a new spray pump. Dristan works fast to relieve nasal congestion, stuffiness, even sinus pressure. So, if you want relief...
Faster than a frog on a hot rock.
Try regular or long-lasting Dristan nasal spray. It's faster than...
A Southern California jury is deciding a case in which the charge is attempted murder and the possible sentence is life imprisonment. It's the climax of a story that didn't seem destined to end that way, a story that started like something out of an American dream. Jerry Bowen reports.
It's a storybook romance of the young and wealthy with more twists and turns than a bad soap opera.
That's what Brad always said to me, was that I was his one and only.
The story of Bradley Ackerman, stepson of one of the country's most powerful newspaper publishers, and Julie, the beautiful girl next door. A story about justice and revenge for the very rich.
I really think the only fair thing would be for him to be paralyzed. I think his crime should fit what he's done to me.
No one disputes what happened last summer in this exclusive Long Beach neighborhood. Bradley shot Julie.
I just heard this loud blast, and I was thrown from my bed onto the floor. And the next thing I knew, he pointed the gun at his chest and just blew himself away.
My name is engraved on the weapon.
The gun belonged to Julie's father, a prominent physician. Before he realized his own daughter was wounded, he tried to save Bradley.
I did attempt to resuscitate him.
Between my phone call to the paramedics and my dad's helping him, we really saved his life.
Even though I'm a doctor, had I known just what happened, I don't think I could have touched him.
It didn't make sense. There'd been talk of marriage. The families were close. The parents had vacationed together, even shared the same tennis pro.
It's shattered both families completely, you know. It's a horrible thing that's happened.
For Julie, it got worse. She returned from the hospital a paraplegic, and then she heard Bradley was back too. Really hurt him.
I'd hear him calling the score from his tennis court, and it was really like torture.
Who is this guy?
Bradley was free on a $500,000 bail. He never spent a day or night in jail.
When I learned he was across the street and just really going on with his life, I just thought, God, there is no justice.
He's getting stronger and stronger. His tennis game is returning. I understand he tells people he's even taking strokes off his golf score because he's able to play better than ever.
Dan Ritter and his
Lovely wife, Franny.
The Ritters, Bradley's mother and stepfather, returned to the social world, and Julie's family grew more bitter.
There has never really been a statement made that we are so sorry about what happened to Julie.
You loved it?
I did.
Right up to the end?
I did.
And in court, the tragic turned bizarre. His world fell apart, said Bradley, when his tennis game deserted him.
It seemed that in high school I had peaked and had a difficult time playing against a tougher competition in college.
After he had become a national champion, he didn't improve. And you saw people beat him.
And then there were gambling losses, $30,000 alone on one bet the night before the shooting, and the Valium overdose. Bradley says he blacked out.
You recall shooting the gun, either at Julie or at yourself?
No, I have no recollection.
The family has refused all interview requests, but late today, Dan Ritter asked to make a statement to CBS News about what he termed the accident.
He couldn't have done such a thing if the Valium hadn't robbed him of his ability to think. It's been a horrible tragedy for both families. We're all suffering.
After 2 days, the jury still hasn't decided. Did he really black out, or did Bradley plan to end his unhappy life and take Julie with him? And Julie, all she wants is justice, in the worst way. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
Shopping. It can make you feel terrific. Especially when you find wonderful color, fabulous fit, beautiful style. But when you also find the Made in the USA label, you feel even better. It's a great feeling. Look for the Made in the USA label in apparel and home fashions because it matters. Made in the USA.
Hot champagne tonight.
You can search, but there's only one place you'll find all these perfect Kenmore gifts, all under $20. Just choose. They're only $19.99 each. Find these and a whole lot more, only at Sears.
I've got big news for prune lovers who also love cereal. Actually, it's kind of small news when you look at it. It's Sunsweet bite-sized pitted prunes. Try them on your cereal, and you'll agree Sunsweet Bite Size is just the right size.
They can't defend, but they can punish the playoff-bound Bengals. It's the NFL tomorrow on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, more students arrested on school grounds charged with selling drugs. Police say they're trying to send a message. We'll have a report coming up. Could the Cookeville Police Department have done more to protect the life of a convenience store clerk? There's even more criticism of that tonight. In rural Tennessee, schools are fighting the big cities to get a bigger piece of the money pie. Those stories and Hope Hines will tell us about TSU's new football coach. Eyewitness News is next.
On the next USA Today, as Miami's drug problem grows, so does resentment.
A person is allowed to protect his own